Okay. I just got this new chair, guys. I just got my new chair.
Yeah, it's so sick.
It's so comfortable. I literally wrote to chair for skinny guys, and this is the first thing that popped up. And then I started watching reviews and stuff. And then I went to test it in stores at Staples. It was amazing. Got it. And now I'm always on my desk now.
What you said for skinny people?
Yeah. Bro. It's like incroyable.
Yo, how much? I gotta get comfortable. I gotta upgrade my shits.
It's okay. It's a bit expensive, but it's worth it. It's $500.
No, but
so it's
my
not
chair
even
was
that
more
expensive.
than
Oh,
that.
yeah. That's not even
cheap. That's what I'm saying. It's not even that expensive for a chair, but it's like sometimes you go look at ergonomic chairs and all that shit.
Yeah.
Bro, I had an ergonomic chair. It was so uncomfortable. This is like a racing gaming chair.
Like the esports game, bro.
Yeah, but they have like massive pillows on it. So yeah. It's comfortable as fuck.
Yo, drop the link. Drop the link in the video, Sasha.
Yo, I hated sitting at my desk. I thought it was because I wasn't a desk person, but turns out it was just my shitty chair.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I need to start. I need to get an affiliate link from Amazon.
Facts.
Yeah. Okay, so Sasha, are you gonna let her in?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start now. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Untold Gems. This is, I think, episode 21. We have
episode 20.
20?
Episode 20.
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know. All right, cool. It's episode 20. Like, I'll just stop saying the number of the episode. But we have our second guest. Her name is Liana'a. She is an accountant. So do you want to start by telling us a bit about yourself and what you maybe specialize in?
Hello, everyone. My name is Liana'a. So I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I opened my business in 2019, so almost 3 years. I major mostly in accounting and taxes. Those are my main services. I like to concentrate mainly on taxes and bookkeeping, but of course I have both. So my company is basically all about accounting and taxes, anything that has to do with both subjects. And yeah.
And you're based in Montreal, right?
You guys want to know more details? Like,
no, you're based in Montreal? You're from Montreal?
Yes, based in Montreal. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what got you into accounting? Like, what is it? Just something that you've been wanting to do since you were a child, or like?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really grows up, starts off as a kid. Hey, I want to be an accountant, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. One day I just was thinking about going into business, and I thought, what's the best way to go into business, and what's the best way to start? So I thought to myself that maybe accounting is the best way because it's basically the core of understanding a business, right? Not only just the numbers and everything, but in accounting, when you study, it also covers like how businesses are and how everything is built, like the core of businesses. So that's where I wanted to begin. And that's how I got into accounting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Let me just add something, because Liana'a and I used to go to school, and when we started, we had to take like core classes, and accounting was one of our core competencies. And when I tell you guys, accounting was the one class that everybody struggled besides her. So when people say you need to find a good accountant, it's serious, because a lot of people have specialties, but not everybody specializes in taxes. And I think that's probably one of the hardest niches to go into when you're an accountant, because that's the most draining mentally, but that's the hardest to understand and to excel at. So the fact, since 18 years old, she was excelling at that, and that was her specialty, it just shows how hard and how much time and effort she put into the craft. So I'm glad that we got on the podcast, because especially as we all know, we all have businesses or side hustles, etc. Knowing your numbers and understanding if your business is profitable or not, it makes a whole difference on how you actually are able to operate in real life or not.
I hated accounting class so much. I was so bad at it.
So a part of the reason why actually I created this business was because those comments, when I hate accounting, I don't understand accounting, or accounting is boring or confusing, personally, I like accounting. Obviously, I'm in the industry, but at the same time, it kind of bothered me that your average businessman or businesswoman or your average person does not like understand the concept of accounting. So that's kind of the reason why I started it. It's not just like me for my business, anyways. I don't offer just accounting services. Like if you go on my Instagram page, you'll see that I have a lot of informative stuff. And my business goal, like my let's say mission, is to not only make my clients or people that I talk to or interact with understand accounting, not only give them a good service, but also make them understand accounting, because I want them to get something out of it, not just, hey, this is my service, please pay me for my service, and that's it, relationship over. I don't want that. I want people to actually understand what's going on and why they're paying that much for the service.
All right.
So that's one of the reasons why I started this business.
Yeah, that's really good because accounting is hard. Like I have to say, like as a business owner, like accounting is the thing that I've struggled with the most. And I'm always like, why didn't I go into accounting? Because it would have helped me so much. But also like working, like just being able to understand it yourself too is very helpful. So I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, the accounting side of your business can literally make or break your business.
Yeah, facts.
It's like one of the most important parts of it. And so, but what do you do exactly in terms of your services? Do you, I suppose you file taxes for people, and do you do that annually? Do you have like quarterly clients? What do you do exactly?
So I have all sorts of clients. One of the main ones would be, well, one of the most simple ones would be annual tax returns for personal, and for individuals actually. And then I also have other clients such as small business clients, which mainly it's with personal taxes. So it's for personal businesses, self-employed, in other words, or corporate clients. So corporations that we do taxes and we do the bookkeeping and the GST, HST returns quarterly, either quarterly or monthly or yearly, depending on the business. We also do corporate taxes. It really depends on. We basically do everything. It really depends on the request of the client or what their needs are. We also actually do consulting. This is a new service that we just came up with. We do consulting, both in finance and accounting, not just accounting per se, because a lot of businesses actually need financial advices as well, not just accounting. And sometimes we do tax consulting. Not all the time, because not everybody needs it, but most of the time when it's a new client especially, I make sure that I understand what their needs are and everything, and then make sure that all the consultation part is completed.
Nice. Do you do financial planning as well?
Depends on the request, but if it's something small, because I do work alone, I do have a CPA, but mainly a lot of things I do it alone. So it really depends on the request. If it's within my capabilities, I'll do it. If it's not, then I have financial advisors that I also have partnered with, who do the advising for me.
Okay.
Or for the client.
Nice.
Yeah, I just want to go back in terms of all the past experiences and all the case studies you have seen. What is probably one of the biggest mistakes a small business owner does when starting a business, in terms of not keeping the taxes or not keeping the previous years or not keeping the receipts? Can you give a couple examples of the most common mistakes that are shown when you look at clients' taxes reports?
So a lot of times, what I've seen many times actually, a lot of people are very unorganized, which is not a very bad thing, but it's a bad thing for accounting. So oftentimes people think, okay, well, I gave this receipt to my accountant, I can get rid of it afterwards because the person has recorded it. But that's not the case, because most of the time you need to keep your receipts for several years, as a matter of fact. Even the ones that, like the ink disappears, those printed receipts, you still have to keep them. It's by law, because one day, let's say if you do get audited by the government, you need to have proof that indeed that transaction did in fact occur. So that's one of the small but could result into bigger mistakes in the future. Those are one of the mistakes. Another thing, going back to not being organized, is being unorganized can affect your business both in a small way, but also if it's a long term, like if it's an unorganized behavior in a long term, then it can affect your business dramatically. Like it could, when they say accounting makes it or breaks it, but also organizational behavior makes it and breaks your business. Because if you're a manager or a business owner or an entrepreneur and you have absolutely no idea what's going on in your business, then you're just paying left and right for services, whether it's accounting, whether it's lawyers, whether it's this or that, or consultation services. You're just paying everything, all these services for people to do what initially should be kind of your job. Because like an accountant can help you with numbers, yes, can help you with taxes, yes, but they cannot organize your business. So a lot of times people mistake that. They think, okay, here's my papers, like this huge pile of papers. They'll give it to you and be like, just organize my things. Okay, we'll do it, no problem. But you still need to know what's going on in your business. And oftentimes a lot of business owners have no idea what's going on in their business.
Yeah, I have a question quickly. Just it's a technical question. Can you just scan your receipts, or do you have to keep the physical paper?
You can scan them as long as you have it.
Okay, so you can throw away the physical paper.
Yeah, as long as you have it. Whether it's a picture or it's a scan, or I mean, now that everything's like so technological, pretty much everything's accepted through the government, especially the government too as well. They've started doing paperless things. So, for example, Revenu Quebec, they no longer want to communicate with their clients, clients, citizens, or business owners with papers. So what they do is they encourage people to register on Click Secure. So that's another thing. So if you have your receipt, like you took a picture of it or you scanned it, even better. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Charl, this is for you. You need to start scanning your...
Yo, she called me out when she said unorganized, or I'm that dude, Liana, where that comes with a plastic bag, or maybe 2, maybe 4, depending, and I'll just drop it off.
I was about to say Charles' bag of receipts.
And they all crumble together. So the last 2 years I've been better in a folder. They may still be crumbled, but that's something I'm working on. So hopefully, as things progress, I'll get better. But as she said, I think that especially maybe Sasha and Chris agree. Accounting is so like last on my mind. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just worry about that in April. So I don't.
Yeah, literally.
I'll just put all my receipts all together, and then after once like March and April, I'll start like trying to find my receipts, and then like I'll organize it by store, by like category. But after that, I don't pay attention to accounting. So
but that's the thing, right? A lot of people think that way. I mean, you're not the only one. So I feel like people who are organized are the weird ones, right? So the thing is, it's like you said, I'll think about it when it's April or when it's May, when everything's due, basically. But the thing is, if you were to be, let's say, organized, then you would know what's missing. But by the time it's April, it's after the fact, right? You got to get it done. You're going to be late. You're going to have interest charged if you're late, etc., etc. But if you were to be organized in time, then you would know what your business is missing and whether you're going to break even this year or whether you're going to pay taxes. And if you know all these things, then you can plan out all of your payments in advance. Let's say you do owe a certain amount to the government, then you can plan out these payments instead of having the shock of the end of the year. You owe like, let's say, I don't know, a few $1,000s to the government, and you're like, oh my God, where am I going to get the money from? So organization does in fact help.
Yeah,
I've started doing my I don't really do all that much bookkeeping, but I started like listing my business expenses monthly. Like I opened a spreadsheet and I do like January, February, March, April, and I kind of fill it out per month. And like I promised myself I would do it this year. I kind of fell off for the past 2 months, but I'll get back to it. But I find it so much more helpful because last year I kind of just or this past year I kind of just pulled everything together literally in April, and I had to go through like so many transactions to try to find all my numbers, and it took me like a week to finalize all of everything that I needed for just for my taxes. And I was like, I cannot go through this ever again. So I started doing it like monthly, and I find it so much more helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do that monthly as well, or not even monthly. I try to keep it as organized as possible. But I had a question for you. We were talking before about self-employed and corporations. What is the point where you advise someone to go from self-employed or from self-employed to a corporation? Because there's a lot of accountants, you speak to them, they all give you different answers. I wanted to get your point of
Yeah.
view.
Good question.
Well, there are different answers because it's all about perspective. So, and of course, goals, like in terms of your business. So, a self-employed, there's basically anything related to self-employment, any income that you gain throughout that self-employment or any expense, it's related to your personal taxes, right? At the end of the year, when you report everything, it's through, let's say, XX person, right? It's through that person's personal taxes. While corporations are like limited liability, so they're like an entity of its own. So you're related to the corporation, but you're not necessarily liable for that corporation. So if anything, let's say, were to happen for that corporation, then you would not kind of go down with it. That's because it's a completely different entity. Even though you're the owner, it's a different entity. It's considered a different entity. So for example, if the corporation were to go bankrupt, then it's the corporation going bankrupt and not you personally. So that's one of the main differences when it comes to business, and it's you need, like as a business man or woman, you need to take that into consideration. Also, corporations have a lot more advantages when it comes to grants or loans. So if you want a government grant or some kind of a loan from a bank, it's much easier to get it through a corporation than for personal purposes. So it really depends what your goal is, right? So with a personal self-employed, you can't really hire people, pay them pay them on payroll and everything. It's just a little bit more complicated. While for corporations, you can do that it's so much easier. It really depends how big you want to grow in terms of your business.
And in terms of number-wise, so do you have a certain threshold for, let's say, like, I don't know, if you make over 50,000, over 60,000, like when should you maybe make the switch from self-employed to being incorporated?
I don't have it really, like I said, it really depends on the perspective of the person. If you're working alone and you don't mind it as much, then self-employed is fine, because self-employed is a little bit cheaper in terms of when it comes to accounting costs or tax costs. But corporations have more legal, let's say, not issues, but like perspective, so that you need to be considered, while self-employed does not have a lot of legal things to do to be taken care of. Same thing with accounting. Accounting is much more expensive when it comes to corporations. So it all depends on how much or how you want to proceed in terms of your business functions.
Okay.
I actually have a question about that too. Like, do you know if, like, let's just say somebody has a high salary with their job, okay? So they work a 9 to 5 and they have like a very high salary. If you're sole proprietor or self-employed, they add your profit from your business on top of your income, right?
Yeah.
So would you, like, if somebody had an extremely high salary from their work, let's just say they're paying like 40% in taxes or something, would you recommend someone like that to incorporate so that they pay, like, would they pay less taxes because it wouldn't be added on their income? Or like, what would you recommend to someone like that?
Well, definitely. So so in that case, yes, it's always better to, I mean, you have nothing to lose if you're to be incorporated.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to grow as a business. But yes, so basically, if the income that you're making is no longer on your personal income, it's going to be like the income of the corporation. So it will be two different incomes, and it will not affect your personal the percentage in terms of taxes at the end of the year. However, when you do make money with your corporation and you do pay yourself some sort of income, dividends, or whatever it might be, then of course it's still increasing your income. So at the end of the day, when it comes to taxes, you're paying it regardless.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're making a lot of money, or it's always better to incorporate, because incorporations also have certain. Self-employment is limited when it comes to expenses. However, corporations have much larger scale when it comes to claiming expenses. There's a lot more you can do with it instead of self-employed.
Okay.
Yeah, because the situation, as Sasha explained, is kind of like my thought process, and like trying not to pay taxes, especially having a 9 to 5. I won't make myself. But you have to be creative when you try to deduct your expenses. I just want to know. Well, I have 2 questions. For how many years can you deduct your expenses without looking fishy to the government, so that you trigger an audit? I know a lot of people, they deduct so much, they'll go up to 40-50%, and then they trigger audit. Is there like a percentage amount that you should like avoid to surpass when you're deducting your expenses, or it really is at random?
Okay, so staying within the legal, so there's no such thing as like a unwritten rule or written rule from the government that says, hey, the first 2 years or the first few months, I'm gonna look over it, I'm gonna pretend it never happened, and then after some time I'm gonna go into it. There's no such thing. So if let's say the first year you do something, whether legal or illegal, it really does not matter for the government. If they think that something needs to be questioned, they will question you, whether it's the first time you're doing it or the 10th time doing it. It really depends how different it is from your previous taxes. So let's say you're Charles and you're making an X amount of money a certain year, and you've been making approximately more or less around the same amount of money for the past few years, and then all of a sudden you're a billionaire, then they're questioning you. You know, there's certain things that will like raise red flags really quickly, and then there's certain things that will not raise red flags as quickly, but they will at some point. It's just that what happens is when I say government, I actually mean like the CRA or Revenu Québec.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is sometimes it just takes longer to get noticed. So it's not like they didn't notice you the first year. Maybe they did notice you the first year. It's just that it's taking longer to process the information. So that's why sometimes something that happens in, let's say, 2020, and then you all of a sudden get a letter in 2022 saying, hey, can you justify this amount? It's not because they realized it 2 years later. It's because they probably realized it in 2020. It just took 2 years to process it. So that's the thing. Like, for example, maybe you're aware, maybe not, but during COVID, when the government paid CERB, the $2,000 amount per month for citizens that were eligible. Now, a lot of people know that a lot of people claimed that amount that they were not eligible for it. We all know that certain someone that did something like that, and it's okay, right? A lot of people thought it's free money, the government's giving it to us, whatever. We'll think about it when the time comes. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a lot of people have actually gotten letters from the government saying that you need to pay these amounts back to us because you were not eligible for it. How did they find out? They have their ways, but it's something like thinking that you can trick the government, saying that, let's say I was eligible for the 2,000 and you were not. It's the worst idea you can have, because they will find out and they will ask for the money back. That's 100% guaranteed. Okay. So if you can avoid it, Don't do
Well,
it.
I have another question. I might get incriminated after this episode. I'm not sure. But in terms of offshore account, I know it's a taboo subject. Canada. Oh no, we have to get the real because we have a. It's been 4 years I've been waiting to have these questions. But in terms of offshore accounts, I know a lot of like wealthy families have offshore accounts. Maybe it's a Swiss account, maybe it's the Caribbean's, etc., etc. How, or if it, I'm not sure if you know this, but how complicated is it to set up one? And if so, do you need special grants for the government to be able to set up these certain things, or is it just by you having dual citizenship, you're able to do certain types of tax advantages like that?
Honestly, I'm not sure how to answer that because I personally do not know. But there are certain things that in terms of law, let's say, well, the Canadian law, if you do have like, let's say, global income, in other words, you have income from another country or you're making money in another country, by law, you have to claim it through your Canadian taxes. Now, if you don't do that, that's your own thing. I can't say much about it, you know. In terms of offshore accounts, I can't really answer that because I need to know exactly how the laws work, and if I don't want to say something that does not make sense in terms of like the law, the actual law.
Okay, I just because just to take it out of the subject, before we were talking about audits, did you ever personally handle like someone getting audited? And if so, how was that experience?
Not in my company years, but I have gone through an audit with my previous experience. Audits are not fun in terms of not fun because like it's not like they're scary or anything. It's very boring. It's very redundant. So what happens is that the auditors will show up at, let's say, at your company, and depending how big the company is or how big the request is. So in my case, the company was pretty big and the audit was also pretty big. So what they did, for 4 days, we had auditors around the company. And what they would do is they sit down and they ask you for whatever information that they might need for their test. So what the auditors do, they do tests on, let's say, accounts receivables, accounts payables, on employee records, whatever they think that is at risk, they will audit it. So when I say audit, they ask you for certain information, paperwork, official papers, and everything, and then you have to provide them. This is where keeping your receipts is very important. So let's say if an auditor asks you for certain information, let's say you don't have one, but if you don't have 10 of those, then we kind of have an issue, right? Because auditors are human too. At the end of the day, they understand like if you don't have just one invoice, but if you don't have 10 invoices, the risks of the company go much higher, and then their assessment is different. Does that answer the question? Or
wait, so they physically showed up to the office?
Yeah,
like a movie.
I would have a panic attack. Like I'd be freaking out.
They're not going to show up to your house. Relax.
No, they won't. If it's a personal audit, they won't show up to your house.
Yeah, like they knock on my door. Like, oh my god.
For personal audit, you will probably receive not an email, paper, an official document from the government of New Quebec or CRA asking you for certain information. It looks like Charles has been audited.
I got audited twice, back-to-back years, man. I got audited when I wasn't making money, so just to tell you how crazy the government is.
Wow.
So they'll ask you for a certain document and then ask you to justify it through, let's say, bank accounts or whatever it might be. Those would be for personal. But for companies, it's more different. It really depends on the company. Some companies have inventory, then they'll audit your inventory. Some companies have different things, they'll audit those different things. It really depends on the company and what they're being audited on.
Okay, so 2 questions. How do they audit your inventory? Like, let's say an e-commerce store, an online store. How would they go about doing that? And the second question was, They ask for receipts, but do they ask for, like, do they want to see the transaction leaving your bank account as well? Or is it okay if it was paid cash, for example?
Okay, so for your first question, you said if the company is in e-commerce?
Yeah. If you have like online inventory, how do they check the physical inventory?
So if there is no physical inventory, they go through a different process. But in terms of physical inventory, sometimes they might do a unit count. It really depends on. That's why they physically come to the company itself. So it really depends what kind of inventory you have, because different processes have different procedures. It's not like auditing, especially auditing. It's not like accounting. It's not like you have this way of doing things and then that's it, or like math, 2 + 2 = 4. It's not like that. Auditors, they go according to what the company is and what the company procedures are. That's why being an auditor is much more complicated, because every time you're presented with a different industry, you have to like study it, understand it before you start going into it and like auditing it, because you can't really audit a company you don't understand, right? Then you don't know what the procedures of that company is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and for the second
question, sorry, can you repeat it? I forgot.
It was just because they ask for receipts, but do they ask like for screenshots of your bank account to see the amount actually being paid? Or because let's say if it was paid cash, how does that work?
Cash is fine, as long as, bank accounts or bank statements are only needed if the receipt is not, let's say, justifiable, or they need a second type of proof. It really depends on the situation of what they're looking for. We're not talking about like $5 expenses, right? And we're not talking about it. Let's say like if your company makes $1,000, and then if it's $100 receipt, then we'll take it into consideration, because $100 to $1,000, it's
10%.
Yeah. But if you're making, let's say, 100K, and they're asking you for, they will never ask you for that $5 receipt, or maybe even $100 receipt. But if it's several $100s of receipt, then it's questionable. Yes, they'll ask you, and they'll ask you for different ways of justifying the receipt if need be.
Okay. So let's say, just for example, I bought this chair, and I have the receipt, and I get audited for the chair, and I paid for it cash, but I have a receipt. So, like, would the receipt be enough?
As long as you can justify it that it went through your company, then yes.
Okay.
It was for your company, sure. Of course, at the end of the day, take my words with a grain of salt as well, because I'm not an auditor. So I do understand auditing more or less, but I'm not an auditor. So some of the things I might say might not be factual. I'm kidding.
But I just had a quick question, because I get a lot of the artists are people who want to start like side hustles, or actually are in the process of accelerating the 9 to 5 salary to have a side hustle as well. I just want to know, what are 5 easy ways for people to save taxes if they do want to have a side hustle? What are some ways that they could look to deduct the tax bill at the end of the year?
Okay, so what are 5 easy ways to save taxes in a legal way?
Yes, always.
So basically, one way, we spoke about this at the beginning, is to be organized. I mean, a lot of people think that, it's just organization, who cares? But if you know when your company is gonna break even, then you can probably know when or how to stop certain things in order for your company to break even, and then at some point maybe not pay taxes. That's one way. Second way would be knowing your expenses. So know your company, understand your company, and understand what are the expenses that you can claim. So for example, if you're traveling for your business then claiming gas expenses would probably be a good idea, or car expenses. It depends, of course, if it's a company car or not, but you can still claim certain travel expenses and stuff like that. Meals and entertainment, so food. Let's say you had company meetings or client meetings and whatnot. That restaurant bill that you paid for like $200, well, that's an expense you can claim. So know your expenses. That laptop you bought, the earphones you bought, everything that was related to your business, or microphone, I don't know, whatever it might be, it's an expense you can claim. So know your expenses. Another way would be, I can't think of good ones on top of my head, but understand, I guess, the rules and regulations, like the law that you're working with. For example, like whatever the government is asking you, right? So for example, if it's a corporation, a lot of times when people go into business, they're just thinking about the business. They're thinking, hey, I'm gonna make this much money, I'm gonna make my business great and whatnot, but they don't think about it in terms of legality and in terms of accounting. So I per se have I've had several experiences where my clients show up and they're super happy, they're making a lot of money and it's great. But then I'm like, okay, great. When did you incorporate? And they tell me like in 2018. And I'm like, yeah, but we're 2022. Did you pay your taxes, or did you do any tax returns? And they're like, no, I didn't know I had to. So know the law, know the legality behind your business. So for example, if you made money the first year and you didn't do your taxes, well, guess what? The government is probably going to charge you interest or penalties for not paying taxes. So another way to save money is to know the law and the rules that follow for your for your company.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
This is a question I have. I see a lot of information online, especially in the US. I haven't really found the answer I'm looking for when it comes to Canada. What's like the main differences between paying yourself a salary if you have a corporation and paying yourself in dividends in Canada? Like, what's the main difference?
Well, dividends are amounts that usually is paid from the income of the company. So you pay dividends when the company makes money, right? Mm-hmm. So it's after the expenses, it's after the fact. That's the only time you pay yourself dividends. Well, it's not the only time, but it's the main general reason why you would pay dividends. As for salary, it's kind of like, being employed for a corporation or for a company and they pay you salary. It's kind of like that. So that would be the difference. And when it comes to salary, whether it's tax deductible or not, so let's say if the company is deducting taxes on your salary and they're paying you that amount, then it's kind of like receiving a T4 at the end of the year. So it's not so different as being employed to another company, for example. As for dividends, it's basically like receiving a lump sum of money into your bank account, which you have to take into consideration of declaring it at the end of the year, which you have to pay taxes on that.
Okay, so you have to pay taxes on both.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so there's no tax like difference when it comes to those two?
Not really. You have to pay taxes on both. It really depends, because if it's a salary, the taxes are being deducted from the beginning. So it's a little bit different than a dividend. A dividend, think of a dividend as like somebody gives you cash and you just deposit the cash in your bank account. As for salary, it's not the case, right? When you're paid an X amount of hours for X amount of money, then you receive that money minus the taxes, right? You don't get the pure check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, is the tax rate the same? Is it 50% or is it like 40%, or is the dividend, we'll say, cheaper because it's
for the dividend?
Yeah, is the dividend like 20? Like, would it be cheaper like 20%, or is it both?
It depends on your personal income. So it depends in which bracket you are. Maybe you're somebody who's not working and you just receive a dividend from a company that either is yours or I don't know, it belongs to your father, and then it just decided to pay you dividends because you're a shareholder. Then for that year, maybe you just made $10,000. Then you're probably in the first bracket, which is 15%. But if you have your own personal income and then you're making dividends, and that just adds up to your income, then it'll might place you in a different bracket. It might not. It really depends on the amount, the total amount.
Okay.
What a trash country.
Yeah, for real.
Like after this episode, I realized how much actually I'm gonna pay taxes because all these ways.
we have high tax rates here.
Yeah, and all these ways I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pay myself through dividends. I'm gonna have a shell company.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't work. That's why I
it's not
specified
going-
in Canada, bro. Because in the US, it's
I gotta move to
completely
US.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a question. I know that we went to college together and we did the whole process of actually going to school, actually doing something in your field. I just want you to talk about the mindset that it took for you to be different from the people who actually do accounting, and instead of going to a big four, doing your own thing, and how did school have an impact on that, or was it something that you had ingrained from a young age?
Well, yeah, so definitely both. Okay, so in my family there are business owners, entrepreneurs. So of course, growing up, I've seen, let's say my father, who's an entrepreneur. I've seen him do his own thing, and so it has encouraged me in a way. My brother is also an entrepreneur, so sometimes he gives me great ideas, and I'm like, oh my god, let's do this. But of course, school did have a huge impact because I'm not going to lie, it was great. I had so much fun at school, especially with you guys. The environment was great. Yeah. So when an environment is great, you just you think you can own whatever, you can do whatever you want, right? So it did definitely encourage me, especially with a lot of the teachers were great. We learned a lot of things. We also had firsthand experiences and whatnot. So it did definitely encourage me to open my business. At the beginning, I was iffy about it. I wasn't sure. I didn't have that extra push. But then at some point, when I was working at a company, and the amount of hours that I was putting in that company, and the amount of work and extra hours that I was putting in, I thought to myself, well, if I do it for a company, like whoever it might be, why can't I just invest those amounts or that travel time or whatnot on myself? So one day I was just at downtown, just randomly walking, doing my own thing, whatever I was doing. I'm not even sure why I was at downtown. And I passed by the Revenu Québec, Registraire des Entreprises office. And I went in. No, I didn't even go in. I just looked at it. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Worst case scenario, I have to close down the business because I'm not good, or it's not working out, or it's just not for me. So I'm not really losing any money, whatever. What's the worst case that can happen? I went in, I just registered the business, and I'm like, I'll think about it. So I registered the business. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything about it. It was there, and I didn't do anything for a few weeks until COVID started and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm home. I'm not doing much, so might as well start. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, again, I have not much to lose. Maybe a little bit of pride or something, but it's okay. And that's how it all started.
Damn, nice. I think we all started businesses during COVID.
That's what I was going to say. It's so funny how everyone you speak to, a lot of people you speak to, you ask them, when did you start? And it was about that
So
period.
many new entrepreneurs happened because of COVID.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, but like we see all the time. Yeah, go Liana.
Sorry, for me, it worked out pretty well because my initial idea when I registered or wanted to open the business, I wanted to do mainly everything online. So kind of the idea was paperless accounting. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, if clients have papers, I'm not going to be like, no, send me everything by email. But I just wanted to do paperless accounting so for it to be easier for for the client. So when COVID hit, you kind of had no choice not to see people. So that kind of worked out pretty well for me because at times, especially when it comes to accounting and personal information and everything, people are not very open to sending it online. So when it was COVID, it worked out pretty well for me because they had no choice.
Yeah, there was a huge shift of people having to, like, being forced to start going online. So I think it worked out in our favors.
Yeah.
I have a question. How did you find your transition from like working a 9 to 5, being in like the corporate world to now being an entrepreneur? Like, what are some struggles, or like, how did that transition happen?
So a 9 to 5 job is very stable, let's say, right? It's very, I wake up at this time, I go to work at this time, I finish at this time, and we're good. We don't have to think about it anymore. But for a business or an entrepreneur, I thought it would be easier, but it's not at all. Like sometimes it's 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and I'm thinking about work. So basically work is nonstop. It's not like, oh, I can wake up at whatever time I want and then go do whatever I want to do at whatever time I want. No, it's so much more than that, and much more stress, much more worry. But it's good worry and it's good stress anyway, for me anyways, because I have a lot of fun doing what I do. But the transition itself, it was easy. I'm not gonna lie, it was easy because we were working from home, right? So it wasn't that bad. But by the time we started going back to normal, I mean, it's been 2 years, so you get used to it, and the transition is much easier. Now, if COVID didn't happen, I'm not sure. It would probably been much harder and maybe more stressful. But the first 2 years, especially when we were working from home, sometimes I would work till like 3-4 a.m. without realizing that it's 3-4 a.m. And then my mom would probably walk into my room, hey, I think it's time to go to sleep or something like that, you know? So I did a lot of hours without realizing that I was working almost like 14, 15 hours a day.
Oh my
God. But it was fun.
Yeah, it's your own business. So like you appreciate working more hours when it's something of your own, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask one more thing. I was looking on your Instagram. You had a post about crypto and like things to do about taxes with crypto. Can you speak a bit about taxes with crypto? Is it same to having stocks? Like, are there any like major differences to typical stocks?
So crypto is, I'm sorry if you guys heard the background noise, I'm really sorry about that.
It's okay.
So crypto is a little bit different because right now Canada doesn't really have specific laws that direct, let's say, accountants or tax people how to proceed with it. It's mainly considered as capital. So anything that you gain from crypto, it's considered like a capital gain. That's how the government sees it so far. Maybe in the future there will be more rules and regulations that will follow, but for now it's just considered as like either capital gain or capital loss.
Is it even if you don't sell it, it's considered as capital gains?
No, if you don't sell it, then it's just there, right? It's in your portfolio or whatnot. So it's there until you actually touch it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a question, and maybe I'm gonna get in trouble with the government by explaining this. But let's say if I had 100K of crypto, and I decide to take a loan against my crypto, would I be able to deduct the interest that I have to pay on the loan when I file my taxes?
Well, if you're, I would say so, because if you're gonna pay taxes on the gains, sorry for answering. Yeah, actually, you can answer.
No, it's fine. I mean, you're right. You answered it correctly. But my question is, I mean, it's not really a question, more like a statement. If you can, as a matter of fact, get that loan with crypto, then yes. But I don't know if a lot of if certain institutions do in fact accept crypto. A lot of institutions don't. So it depends where you're getting your loan
Yes,
from and everything. But if it's done in the correct manner, then you should be able to deduct the interest. Yes.
because there's one episode we talked about decentralized financing. So essentially, for our audience, it's going through, I won't say the black web, but you go towards a non-financial institution that's a chartered bank, and then afterwards you're able to get financing. So for people who want creative ways to buy a home, again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, so don't.
Maybe you do go through a financial institution. That would be the best way. But if it's something that the government does not recognize, then you probably won't be able to deduct the interest because it's something that they don't recognize, right? But if it's a financial institution recognized by the government and the loan was taken out from there, then yes, you can definitely deduct the interest.
Nice. All right, well, guys, I think I'm done with my questions. Do you guys have any more questions?
I just had one last question because we had.
Me too. After.
Okay, but
I know that you started your business during COVID. I see you did a lot of growth since we started college together. I just want to know what's next for you in terms of the next 5 years, 10 years. Where you see yourself going, and do you have any plans that you want to announce, or where you see yourself? Like, what's the next step for you in terms of accelerated growth?
So I do have plans. I'm working on them right now, actually. For now, like small goals, let's say, is to improve my corporate, let's say, first off, marketing, because I do literally everything, whether it's marketing, organization, everything. So just to get some load off of me would be to get a proper marketing team. That would be one of the goals. Second thing would be to grow. That's one of my first goals. Let's put marketing aside, but yes, definitely at some point I want to hire accounting people. I want a little bit more help, because once I do that, I can get more clients and grow the business, and then work on the mission of the business, not just because honestly, I don't believe in like transaction, make money. That's not my goal. Of course, yes, we do have a business. We want to make money at the end of the day, but I'm also doing this because the purpose for me, I just want to be different from other accounting companies, or corporations or firms, whatever you want to call them. I want to be absolutely different. I want when my clients come to see me or come to see whoever they might see at my company, I want them to leave happy and reassured that everything's going to be all right. We're not going to jail at the end of the year. Everything's okay. And I want them to be reassured. That's my goal and mission for my company. So building a good relationship with my clients is my number one priority. And then second would be, of course, grow the company, have more employees and the correct personnel to help me grow the company.
Nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, because I think earlier in the beginning you said that you guys were like, obviously you guys have clients where you help them, file their taxes and everything and bookkeeping. But then you also mentioned that you have, I think you said like consulting, where like, is that kind of like a crash course for like accounting? Like
not really. Actually, that's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Probably have a crash course one day.
Because I need that.
So actually, the way Accotech does it, the way I do it, first consultation with me is always free, as long as it's the first one. It doesn't matter. I mean, at some point, it doesn't matter how long it takes. I want to understand the client and I want the client to trust me. So that's why it's free, and there's no like money involved because it's like building a relationship. That's my first consultation. Of course, I don't want it to take 5 hours either. I have a whole day going on. I have to work too. But between 30 minutes to an hour, I do free consultations for free for the first time, like for newcomers and whatnot. That would be one of the consultations. Other consultations, such as personal financing, And then there's financing in terms of how to invest, those types of consultations. Of course, the investing part is not done with me because I'm not a financial advisor. Personal financing, I do. You can do that with me, but for financial consultations, I do have a partner. You do the advising with him. There's also consultation in terms of how to organize your taxes, how to organize your excuse me, how to organize your business, and it really depends on what the needs are and what the issue is or what your questions are. But rest assured, like I make sure that regardless of the question or how complicated or how sometimes people think stupid it is, I make sure that everything's answered before they leave my office.
Yeah, that's good because sometimes I'm like, I regret not going into some type of accounting in school because it would have helped me so much. I've even looked at like trade programs just to do like a 1 year program of like learning accounting, but it would be super helpful like to actually have an accountant sit with you and explain like what it actually is instead of just like, doing everything for you. So I think it's really cool that that's like something that you're prioritizing to like make sure that they actually understand. And like, again, that's something that I would definitely need because I'm like, please explain it to me because it takes me a long time to understand like a lot of accounting. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And if ever you do a crash course, I'll be joining that.
Yeah, for me in school, like I didn't learn anything when it was in accounting class. Like all the things we talked about today, I just didn't understand any of it because I didn't know how it applied in the real world. But now I feel like I know more about accounting than any person who's taken an accounting class in university right now because of the experience that comes with having a business. And I feel like it would be the same for you, Sasha. Like I think you know a lot more than most people that are even taking accounting classes right now.
I hope so.
Which is crazy to say, but
there's a lot of resources online that could actually help. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know about is the CRA website. A lot of people think CRA government boring, right? It's like rules, regulations, whatever. They don't like us. But that's not really always the case. I mean, when you go on the CRA website, there's so many things you can research. There's so many things or laws or rules, accounting rules or tax related information that you can research that's actually beneficial for you. So it's not just for accountants. It's not just for financial advisors or tax people or whatnot. And the average citizen can also use the website to research whether it's about crypto, it's about taxes, it's I don't know, like the depreciation or whatever it might be. You can all research that on the CRA website and find out how Canada works in some sense.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think I've seen it, but somebody needs to like dumb it down a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you follow my page, you will probably see a few things here and there.
Yeah, I just followed your page and I saw some of your posts and like keep doing that because honestly, like all the information is probably there, but a lot of us don't understand like all of the terminology. And so it's really cool what you're doing. Like just kind of dumb it down a little bit for us. Because sometimes I read things and I'm like, I don't even understand what any of this means,
But where could people find you if they're interested in your services or if they want to have further inquiries? Where could they find you? And as well, is there a website coming soon, or is there something where they can have access to all the services that you offer?
So they can find me on Facebook, Google. I do have a website. It's on my page. Instagram, email, phone number, everything's out there. So, and the thing is, I'm very reachable almost all the hours. That's the funny part. Even though I put hours on Google, 5 p.m. I'm not working. I still answer the phone at 6 p.m. So you can reach me literally anywhere, and I will most definitely answer either within the hour or maximum a day. So I'm pretty responsive when it comes to things like that. So you can find me everywhere.
Well, what is your Instagram and your Facebook? I'll leave a link. We'll leave a link.
Yeah, we'll put
the links.
But still say it. Like, what is it?
Instagram is Accotech, so ACCO Tech, TECH, and Facebook is my Accotech. That's the only difference.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
All right,
And on
guys.
Google, it's Accotech Services. That's it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Did you have any final words, anything you felt like you wanted to say but didn't get the chance to say, or do you think it's all good?
First off, thank you for having me. I'm honored, actually. Thank you very much. It was a great experience, and it was very pleasant talking to you guys. Other than that, don't be scared of accountants. Trust them. Don't hide anything from them, because at some point they'll find out. Because when we're doing the accounting, when we go into details and everything, if there's something missing, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out, absolutely. So be upfront with us. We are not that scary. We're there for you. Accountants they work for the public, basically. We're there to help you. We're there to make sure everything's okay. And a lot of misconception there is that some people think that, like, if something goes wrong, accountants are going to call the government and be like, oh, hey, this person is doing something wrong, go get them. It's not like that. We're here for you guys. We're here to make sure everything's okay, everything's legal, everything that nobody is. So yeah, basically, in other words, we're not going to snitch if you do something bad, but if you tell us the full truth, we'll help you
correct
out of that bad situation, let's say.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I learned a lot, so I appreciate you coming on.
Now you guys see why I passed accounting in college. You see?
Yeah,
facts.
for real.
Facts. No, we really appreciate you coming and being our second guest. And guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. This is the Untold Gems podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
But
good job, guys. That was a really nice episode.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
I looked towards the end. I was like, no, did I not record? But it's all good. I recorded.
Yo!